This baby slept with 3 dogs. This is what happened when he woke up. The parents watched in shock, unsure if it was danger or devotion. But when the baby finally opened his eyes, what unfolded left them speechless and turned a simple nap into an unforgettable story. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. The afternoon sun filtered softly through the curtains, casting a warm, golden glow across the nursery. A baby boy, no more than 8 months old, lay nestled in a crib surrounded by soft blankets. His tiny chest rose and fell in rhythm, his little fists occasionally twitching as he dreamed. In the corner of the room, 3 pairs of eyes followed every movement. The family's dogs, 2 French bulldogs and a larger shepherd mix, had crept quietly into the nursery. At first, they simply lay near the crib, watching with quiet curiosity. But as minutes passed, they climbed closer, one curling at his feet, another pressing against his side, and the third resting just beneath his head. When the parents peeked in, their hearts froze. The sight was heart-melting but terrifying at once. A fragile baby surrounded by 3 animals. Was it safe? Instinct screamed at them to separate the child, yet something made them hesitate. The dogs weren't restless. They weren't aggressive. Their bodies were calm, their breathing steady, their eyes soft with a strange tenderness. It was as if they had appointed themselves as guardians of the sleeping infant. The parents exchanged worried glances, unsure whether to intervene or let the moment be. Little did they know, this unlikely nap would set in motion a chain of events they would never forget. The room grew quieter as the baby drifted deeper into slumber. The only sounds were the soft hum of the heater and the faint whistle of wind against the windows. Yet inside that small nursery, a silent watch was unfolding, one no parent could have scripted. The oldest of the dogs, the shepherd mix, positioned himself near the crib's edge, head resting on his paws but ears pricked, alert to every creak and shift in the house. The white bulldog tucked himself at the baby's feet, his stocky body acting like a cushion, keeping the infant's toes warm beneath the blanket. The smaller bulldog climbed closer still, curling up by the baby's side as though listening to his heartbeat. Their arrangement wasn't random. It looked deliberate, almost ritualistic, like 3 guardians surrounding a king. Every time the baby stirred, the dogs adjusted slightly, noses twitching, eyes flicking to one another as if communicating silently. From the doorway, the parents stood frozen. A mix of awe and fear tightened their chests. They had always trusted these dogs, but never imagined them so close, so protective, so purposeful. The air carried a tension that felt both comforting and unsettling. It was no longer just a nap. Something deeper was unfolding in that quiet room, and everyone could feel it. The minutes ticked by and the nursery seemed wrapped in stillness. The baby shifted slightly, his tiny hand brushing against the blanket. One soft whimper escaped his lips, the kind that usually signaled the start of tears. The parents held, their breath expecting cries, but the dogs reacted first. The shepherd mix raised his head instantly, his ears sharp, eyes focused on the baby. He leaned closer, exhaling a low whine, as though reassuring the child. The white bulldog stretched a paw gently across the blanket, keeping it tucked in place. Meanwhile, the smallest bulldog nestled tighter against the infant, pressing his warm body close. Instead of waking in distress, the baby relaxed. His fingers curled into the bulldog's fur, his breathing evening out again. A faint smile tugged at his lips as if comforted by their presence. From the doorway, the parents exchanged stunned looks. They had seen dogs guard doors and bark at strangers, but this was different. This was tender, deliberate, almost human-like care. Their instincts screamed caution, yet their hearts softened at the sight of such loyalty. Still, a question loomed in the back of their minds. Why were the dogs so intent, so alert, as if sensing something unseen? What were they protecting him from? The answer would come only when the baby finally woke. The baby's eyelids fluttered as the morning light grew stronger. A soft yawn escaped his lips, followed by a tiny stretch of his arms. Slowly, his eyes blinked open, adjusting to the warm glow around him. For a moment, there was silence, the fragile pause between sleep and waking reality. Then, instead of crying, the baby giggled. A high, pure sound filled the nursery, surprising his parents at the door. His tiny hand reached outward, not toward his toys or the blanket, but toward the dogs nestled close around him. The shepherd mix lowered his head gently, allowing the baby's hand to brush against his fur. The little boy squealed in delight. The smaller bulldog nuzzled closer, planting his face against the baby's chest while the white bulldog wagged his stubby tail and licked the baby's tiny fingers. The scene was heart-melting, but the parents felt their breath catch. Dogs were animals after all, strong, unpredictable. One wrong movement could mean danger, yet all they saw was gentleness, restraint, and love. The dogs moved with a carefulness that seemed impossible, as if they understood how fragile the baby truly was. The baby laughed again, tugging softly at the bulldog's ear. Instead of snapping, the dog leaned into it, eyes closing with contentment. It was a moment no one could explain, trust woven silently between child and guardians. The parents, though touched, couldn't ignore how strangely the dogs were behaving. They weren't just cuddling the baby, they were guarding him. Their bodies remained tense, ears flicking at every sound. The shepherd mix occasionally lifted his head toward the window, a low growl rumbling in his chest. At first the couple thought it was coincidence, but when the baby shifted again, a soft wheeze escaped his lips. Instantly, all three dogs reacted. The smallest bulldog pawed gently at his chest. The white bulldog whined anxiously, and the shepherd pressed closer as if urging the parents to notice. Alarmed, the father scooped the baby into his arms. That's when they realized his breathing wasn't right. It was shallow, uneven, something no parent could ignore. Panic swept through the room as the mother grabbed her phone, dialing the pediatrician. Minutes later at the clinic, the truth was revealed. The baby had developed a minor respiratory issue during sleep. Nothing life-threatening, but dangerous if left unnoticed. And it was the dogs, not the parents, who had first detected it. The vet shook his head in amazement. Animals sense things we can't. Your dogs were protecting him, keeping him calm, and warning you. The parents were left speechless. What they thought was a simple nap had, in fact, been a silent rescue. That evening, as the family returned home from the clinic, the weight of what had happened settled over them. The baby, now breathing comfortably, slept peacefully in his mother's arms. At her feet, the three dogs padded close, their eyes never straying far from the child they had guarded so fiercely. The father lowered himself onto the couch, staring at the trio in wonder. They knew, he whispered, shaking his head. Long before we did, they knew. His wife nodded, clutching the baby tighter, her eyes filled with tears, not from fear but from overwhelming gratitude. When the baby stirred again, the dogs instinctively shifted, one at his side, one near his feet, and one at the doorway. It was clear now, this wasn't random behavior. It was loyalty, pure and unshakable. These animals weren't just pets. They were guardians, family, protectors chosen by instinct itself. The parents realized something profound. Love doesn't always need words. Sometimes it comes in silent gestures. Three dogs keeping vigil over a child who couldn't yet speak for himself. From that day forward, the story spread through the town, becoming a reminder of trust and devotion. And in that home, the bond between one baby and his three guardians would never be questioned again.